Well, hello, and thanks for watching another episode of News of the Pews, where you can count on unapologetic 2A advocacy. Gun rights are human rights. And despite their beady little eyes and flappy heads, Canuckistanis are humans. And gosh darn it, I am so proud of them, because 97.5% of registered gun owners have refused to comply with the Empire's decree that all remotely useful or fun firearms be turned into Colt Canada for destruction. Actually, that number is a little misleading because it only represents the percentage of registered owners. There is, of course, no way to measure how many people had guns they never registered. So perhaps a more accurate way of stating this figure is that only about 0.14% of Canadians have turned in a gun. But no matter how you tally it, the rate of compliance is dreadfully low, and that's the Achilles heel of gun control. If the people simply refuse to comply, the state is left with no good choices, leaving this poor guy stammering about how the law is somehow both voluntary and not voluntary.
Program that we have in place is voluntary, strictly voluntary, so they're not compelled to take part in the program, although compliance with the law is not voluntary.
I'm sure he wants to threaten door-to-door searches, but aside from the authoritarian optics, he can't really afford to be seen taking cops away from real police work right now with the problems they've had hiring officers. He doesn't want to appear like the mean, oppressive guy, and he also doesn't want to look weak. The answer is there is literally nothing they can realistically do other than wait for local cops to find prohibited guns in pretextual stops in poor neighborhoods, just like we do here in Freedom Land. But hey, it would be impossible for me to produce quality 2A propaganda without you. That's right, I don't have any sponsors, so I literally couldn't make this content without your support. So if you are in a comfortable place in life, please consider supporting this channel by purchasing one of these sick t-shirts for just $15 or donating at the links down there in the doobly-doo and right here, of course. Patreon supporters get to see scripts and videos early as well as private Discord access. If you're not in a comfortable place though, remember, you don't owe anyone else a thing. Please enjoy this 2A propaganda at the price of free $99 and continue to pray for us. President Trump has endorsed Steve Hilton for governor of California, which is far from the worst choice he could have made. Hilton has never held political office, so we can't look to a voting record, but he does speak generally positively about gun rights. Then again, Gavin Newsom will tell you he supports the Second Amendment, but... And we all know that when you add "but" to a statement, you pretty much negate everything before that. Like, I'm not gay, but, or I don't want to offend you, but. So you're never going to hear me defending 2A butters, and Hilton is from the UK, and when he talks about gun rights, it's in the context of American tradition rather than fundamental human rights. In terms of gun rights, he may not be ideal, but at least he doesn't run a sheriff department that routinely denies carry permit applications for subjective and capricious reasons in blatant violation of the US Constitution and the Supreme Court. So he's got that going for him. And before we move on out of the festering cesspool that is Californistan, you should hear about what the CRPA is saying scummy control freak politicrators are getting up to. Lately, they have been using an underhanded tactic called spot bills to file an unremarkable bill, then later in the process they add much more offensive provisions to the bill after it's too late for advocacy groups to mobilize a response. I'm confident that control freaks in your own state will use this same tactic, so it's important for you to stay plugged into your local gun rights groups such as your state's Citizens Defense League. 1,350 workers at the Olin Winchester Lake City plant have decided to strike. That could raise prices for you because Lake City does sell contract overruns to civilians, but it's particularly interesting because it comes at a really awkward time for the War Department. I mean, they've got warehouses full of bullets, of course, but they're not going to be happy about an interruption in supply, and the federal government does have the power to shut this strike down if they decide to step in. What do you think? Will this cause a shortage? Panic buying? Should these workers even be allowed to strike? I'd love to hear your thoughts down below. If you were to put your pants on your head, jam a snorkel in your ass, and juggle geese while screaming, "I'm a little teapot," you still wouldn't look as stupid as the 3-judge panel of the First Circuit who just ruled that buying a gun is not protected by the Second Amendment.
Stupid! You're so stupid!
Beckwith versus Frey challenged Maine's 72-hour waiting period, and the justices found no problem with it. They compared it to the shell issue infringements tolerated by the Bruin decision. That is, nothing short of a permanent bar to ownership would count as a direct restriction on the right as far as these judges are concerned. But even simple Jack could see right through that bullshit. Justice Thomas said the right to bear arms is not a second-class right. Can you imagine a 72-hour waiting period to buy a Bible or a newspaper? Insane.
Insane. No. Psychotic. Yes.
Idaho voters will decide on an official state gun this November. Options are Winchester Model 1894 and 3030, Winchester Model 1873 and 4440, 1873 Colt Single Action Army and 45 Colt, M1 Garand and 30-06, M1911 and 45 AARP, or Remington Model 700 and 30-06. The Idaho legislature passed HB 932, which puts this question to the voters. Critics say the bill wastes money by printing out thousands of ballots when it could be just an online poll, but defenders point out it's not their own money, so why would they even care? Well, folks, rounds complete on 2, but before I go, your moment of completion. I love you.
This is a folding fin, canard stabilized rocket. In this concept, multiple camera nodes triangulate the position of an airborne target and generate real-time XYZ coordinates. Those coordinates are transmitted to the launcher, which compares the target position with its own GPS and compass data to determine an optimal launch orientation. Once a rocket is launched, the camera nodes continue tracking both the rocket and the target simultaneously.